I never thought a simple science experiment could completely change my life. I mean, I loved science class like any other high school kid, but I was always careful, or so I thought. That Tuesday morning started just like any other. Sunlight streaming through the lab windows, the faint smell of disinfectant mixed with the sharp tang of chemicals, and the rhythmic clinking of glassware as my classmates fumbled with beakers and Bunsen burners. Mr. Aldridge, our science teacher, had a reputation for being brilliant but slightly unpredictable. Today, he promised something groundbreaking, and I admit, I was curious. He had set up a new chemical mixture on the front table, a glowing, iridescent liquid that pulsed softly under the fluorescent lights. This, he announced, voice tinged with excitement, could change how we understand human biology at the cellular level. I remember leaning closer, drawn in by the hypnotic shimmer of the liquid. My curiosity got the better of me. "Be careful, Jamie," warned Lisa, my lab partner, glancing nervously at the concoction. "I got this," I said, shrugging. But the moment I reached to adjust the vial, a small tremor in the table sent it tipping, and the glowing liquid spilled directly onto my hands. Heat, cold, and a strange tingling sensation hit me all at once, and I stumbled back, my heart racing. "Mr. Aldridge!" I shouted. "It's burning. No, it's weird." He rushed over, panic flashing in his usually composed eyes. "Quick, to the sink," he barked. Water gushed over my hands, but the tingling didn't stop. It spread, running up my arms like electricity. My vision blurred, my skin felt tight, and then, I felt my chest. And that's when it hit me. My hands were smaller. My face, softer. My body, it wasn't mine anymore. I looked up into the mirror by the lab bench, my reflection a stranger. Long, silky hair framed delicate features, and my body had completely transformed. I stumbled back, every heartbeat echoing in my ears. "This can't be real," I whispered, my voice now higher, lilting with a feminine tone that made me flinch. For the first few days, I couldn't even look people in the eye. Going to school was torture. Every glance from classmates felt like a judgment, every whisper in the hallway a dagger. Teachers who didn't know yet gave me strange looks. My voice, my gestures, even the way I held myself had changed overnight. Lunchroom conversations became exercises in avoidance. "Can you believe Jamie?" someone would murmur. "She looks different." My parents were horrified at first. My mom hovered anxiously, wringing her hands, while my dad muttered something about freak accidents and calling the doctor immediately. I tried explaining, but even I didn't fully understand what had happened. The chemicals, Mr. Aldridge's experiment, everything blurred together. At school, Lisa was the only one who dared approach me. "Jamie, you're okay?" she asked softly. Her eyes didn't judge, they were full of concern. But I could barely nod, tears threatening to spill, embarrassment burning hotter than any chemical could. Even in the classroom, I felt like a stranger in my own body. The weight of my new form was heavy, not just physically, but emotionally. I caught glimpses of myself in reflective surfaces, my long hair flowing down my back, the subtle curves reshaping my silhouette, the delicate way my fingers moved. Every glance made my stomach twist with a mix of fear, shame, and a flicker of curiosity I didn't want to admit. Late that night, I locked myself in my room. I had to understand what was happening. I stared at my reflection in the mirror, touching my face, my hair, my chest. "This is me, now," I whispered. My voice sounded strange, unfamiliar, but somehow, it carried a power I hadn't felt before. I found myself rummaging through my closet, pulling out clothes I'd never worn, skirts, blouses, tights, and hesitating at the door to try them on. My heart pounded, each garment a tiny thrill, each movement a revelation. I practiced walking, adjusting my posture, experimenting with subtle gestures. It was private, hidden, almost sacred. Makeup was another adventure. I watched countless tutorials, imitating the way eyeliner flared at the corners, how blush highlighted the cheekbones. At first, it felt absurd, like playing dress-up, but slowly, each stroke of the brush, each swipe of lipstick made me feel more complete. I didn't recognize the reflection, yet somehow, I liked her. I started leaving little notes to myself, observations about my new body and reactions, how it felt when the wind caught my hair, how clothes draped differently, how people's attention seemed shifted. Each small discovery made me braver, though the fear of discovery never fully vanished. Weeks passed, and the initial shock began to settle into a strange rhythm. I dared to venture out a bit more, wearing casual outfits in public, testing the waters. Grocery stores, coffee shops, quiet streets, I observed the world through new eyes. Strangers treated me differently, often with polite curiosity, sometimes with obvious admiration. Every encounter was a small victory, a confirmation that I could navigate this new life. I even tried speaking differently, adjusting my tone, softening my voice, and watching as people responded. I noticed the power of subtlety, the way confidence could disguise uncertainty. Each step outside my room built a strange mix of anxiety and exhilaration. The first time I went to school after the initial weeks, I was terrified. I rehearsed my interactions in my head endlessly, worrying about what friends would think, whether teachers would recognize me, whether anyone would see through the facade. And yet, I survived. I laughed at jokes, answered questions in class, and even noticed a few lingering glances that made my pulse race. It wasn't all easy. Some classmates whispered behind my back, and rumors spread faster than I could correct them. I had to learn to navigate this new world carefully, balancing fear and courage, uncertainty and excitement. But slowly, I realized something incredible. I was becoming me. Then came the real test, confronting Mr. Aldridge. He had been part of this disaster, yet he was also the only one who might understand. I found him after class, pacing nervously near the lab. "Jamie, I'm so sorry," he stammered. "I never expected this. The experiment, it was unforeseen." "I know," I whispered, my voice trembling but firm. "But I can't go back. Not really. I've changed." He looked at me, eyes wide with guilt and fear, and then, oddly, with a hint of admiration. You've handled this remarkably," he said finally. "I didn't think. You've adapted." And that's when I realized something. This wasn't just a mistake. It was an opportunity. A terrifying, confusing, life-altering opportunity. From that point, I began experimenting more confidently with my identity. I chose clothes that made me feel powerful, makeup that highlighted the features I now loved, hairstyles that reflected the new me. I joined clubs, met new friends, and even started being noticed in ways I hadn't before. Strangers smiled, classmates hesitated, intrigued, teachers looked at me with curiosity rather than skepticism. I faced moments of fear, nights when I wondered if I had made a mistake, moments when the old world seemed easier. But each day, my confidence grew. I discovered I could speak, walk, and laugh as her, fully, unapologetically. And with that confidence came respect, curiosity, and even admiration. The day I walked into the school auditorium for a presentation, fully embracing my new self, I felt a surge of empowerment unlike anything I'd experienced before. Heads turned, whispers rose, but I stood tall, voice clear, movements confident. For the first time, I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. Now, weeks after that fateful Tuesday, I can finally reflect on what happened. The accident, terrifying as it was, forced me to confront fears, to explore parts of myself I had never dared to touch. I've discovered strength in vulnerability, power in authenticity, and beauty in transformation. Being a girl isn't about the chemicals, the body, or the reflection in the mirror. It's about embracing every part of myself, learning to walk with confidence, speak with pride, and live unapologetically. And while I will always remember the shock, the fear, and the embarrassment, I will also remember the empowerment, the joy, and the thrill of discovering a version of me I never knew existed. So, if you ever feel trapped, uncertain, or afraid of who you are, or who you might become, remember this. Sometimes, life's accidents aren't setbacks. They are openings, doors, invitations to explore, to grow, to transform. And if you dare to walk through, you might just discover a self more authentic, more vibrant, more alive than you ever imagined. I can also expand this with even more private experimentation, dialogue with friends, and internal thoughts to reach exactly 3,000 words with added suspenseful interactions and sensory immersion. It was one thing to experiment in my room, hidden from the world, but venturing outside was another level entirely. The first time I stepped into the local coffee shop, heart hammering like a drum, I felt every eye on me, even if they weren't. I kept my head low, shoulders slightly hunched, hands gripping my bag, but the mirror behind the counter caught my reflection. The girl staring back at me had my eyes, my expressions, but somehow, she was braver, more alive. Hi, can I get a caramel latte? I asked, voice slightly higher than usual. The barista blinked, paused, and then smiled warmly. Sure thing. Coming right up. It was a small interaction, but it shook me. People weren't laughing at me, or whispering behind my back. They were treating me normally. For the first time in weeks, I allowed myself a tiny smile, feeling a spark of confidence ignite. Back home, I practiced more. I experimented with different outfits, flowy skirts, fitted tops, soft fabrics that made me feel feminine without being flashy. I discovered the subtle power in accessories. A delicate necklace, earrings that caught the light, even the right shoes that made my posture feel natural. Every choice became a statement, a way to inhabit this new version of myself. Lisa became my confidant. She was curious, supportive, and never judgmental. We would spend hours talking about everything: the accident, my fears, the way my body now felt, and the strange thrill of seeing the world react differently. "You're really amazing, Jamie," she said one evening, sitting cross-legged on my bedroom floor. "I can't imagine the courage it takes to step out like this every day." I shrugged, trying to hide the flush creeping up my neck. I don't know if I feel amazing. Most days I feel terrified someone will see through it. But I'm learning. Lisa grinned. And that's all anyone can do. You're figuring out who you are, no one else's opinions matter more than that. Her words lingered with me as I navigated school and social events. At first, I stayed on the edges, hallways, classrooms, library corners, watching reactions, learning how people perceived me. Every glance, every whisper, every small act of curiosity taught me something about how to move, how to speak, how to exist in this body confidently. Then came the first real test, the weekend science fair. Mr. Aldridge had insisted I participate, despite, or maybe because of, the accident. I was terrified. Public spaces were unpredictable. Whispers could turn into ridicule, mistakes into humiliation. But I knew hiding forever wasn't an option. Standing in front of the crowded gym, surrounded by classmates and parents, I felt my stomach knot. My project was ready, but my confidence teetered like a candle flame in the wind. And then I caught Lisa's eyes in the crowd, shining encouragement. That was enough. I inhaled deeply, shoulders back, chin high, and began speaking. My experiment, I started, voice steady, demonstrates how chemical interactions can alter biological processes in unexpected ways. The words flowed naturally, and the room listened. No laughter, no whispers, just attention. When I finished, the applause surprised me. Not because people were being polite, but because they genuinely acknowledged my work, and me. I felt a rush of pride, a surge of self-worth. This wasn't just surviving. This was thriving. The next weeks blurred into a mix of curiosity, fear, and empowerment. I experimented more: coffee shops, library visits, even casual school days in feminine attire. Each outing taught me something: how to move my hands gracefully, how to tilt my head to catch attention, how subtle changes in voice could command respect. Yet the fear of discovery lingered. Some classmates still whispered, some teachers glanced suspiciously. And Mr. Aldridge, well, he remained a mix of guilt and admiration. He never pushed me to revert, never suggested a solution, just offered advice when I asked. One day, a confrontation changed everything. I had decided to attend a small weekend party, my first real social event outside family and school. Nervous and exhilarated, I arrived, heart thudding with anticipation. And there he was, Mark, a close friend from my old life, staring at me in shock. "Jamie, is that you?" His voice cracked with disbelief. I froze, a thousand thoughts flooding my mind. Should I run? Explain? Hide? But something inside me, something stronger than fear, pushed me forward. "Yes, it's me," I said softly, voice confident. "This is who I am now." He blinked, processing, then smiled uncertainly. "Wow, you look incredible." I laughed nervously, feeling relief wash over me. The fear that had haunted me for weeks began to melt. I wasn't hiding anymore. I wasn't pretending. I was alive, fully, unapologetically. The party became a turning point. I danced, laughed, and even flirted, things I never imagined I could do in this new body. Strangers approached me, friends accepted me, and the girl I had feared to be became someone the world could see, someone the world could admire. Returning home that night, I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the face staring back, but in a good way. The eyes sparkled with confidence, the posture radiated assurance, and the smile was mine. Finally, fully mine. Weeks later, I walked into school with a new perspective. Rumors still floated, whispers still lingered, but they no longer had power over me. I was confident, poised, and fully inhabiting this new identity. I realized something crucial. The accident didn't take away my life. It offered me a chance to reinvent it, to explore parts of myself I had never dared to. Mr. Aldridge watched silently as I navigated the halls with ease. One afternoon, he approached. "Jamie, I don't know if I've ever seen someone adapt so completely. You've transformed, in every sense." I smiled, a hint of mischief in my eyes. Sometimes, the best discoveries happen by accident. And he laughed, a sound that carried both relief and pride. From that moment on, I embraced every part of this journey, the mistakes, the experiments, the fear, and the exhilaration. I discovered joy in my appearance, confidence in my movements, and power in my voice. I explored public spaces, social events, and friendships with a newfound courage. Each step forward reinforced a truth I had slowly come to understand: being yourself is the bravest, most rewarding experiment of all. The reflection in the mirror now tells a story of fear, struggle, curiosity, and ultimate empowerment. A story of transformation not just in appearance, but in heart and mind. I smile at her every day, the girl who survived the chemical accident, the girl who learned to navigate the world on her own terms, the girl who finally discovered the courage to be herself.